Being a fan of Dragon Ball feels like being in limbo right now. We're desperate for any shred of information on Tenkaichi 4, the manga is currently retelling the latest movie, and there's still no information on the return of the anime. Oh. Okay. So we have a new series on the horizon for 2024 where a brand new villain turns back the clocks and reverses the age of the Z Fighters. But does this only apply to the characters? Well, shit. I know I normally only look at Dragon Ball games once a year, but there are so many that I feel like I can afford to do more than one a year. So I thought I'd look at Raging Blast, the slower and less handsome brother of my favourite Dragon Ball game of all time. Developed by Spike and published by Namco Bandai, Raging Blast was initially announced in the May 2009 issue of V-Jump magazine, with more details slowly released throughout the year. Raging Blast was set to be a huge leap forward for the series, being the second game released on HD consoles after Burst Limit. The details released around the game included the roster of over 70 playable characters including transformations, environments the player could interact with and destroy, and the inclusion of Super Saiyan 3 Broly and Vegeta. Raging Blast finally released in November 2009 across all territories, and it received mixed reviews. The game's strengths that people pointed out included the multiplayer, character customization, and the visual style being a faithful adaptation of the anime. While the drawbacks that most people noted were the way the game presented the story of the series, the time spent charging energy taking away from the gameplay, and the camera having no lock-on or control options. Following the release of the game, Bandai provided fans with free DLC packs. These contain customized versions of characters with new super attacks and abilities. In total, there were 11 character packs released between November 2009 and April 2010. Raging Blast is a 3D fighting game that takes a lot of inspiration from the Budokai Tenkaichi games. You can transform, launch super and ultimate attacks, grab people, and lay the classic 1-2 smack down on people. The game also brings back some great features from previous games that have been missing from the series from a while, like fully destructible environments and destroying clothes and armour when a character takes a lot of damage.
Raccoon of the Ginyu Force! You're mine now! Hello, sailor!
But Raging Blast also brings its own brand new features to the table. Some of these are small touches like the sky changing colour when you charge your energy for long enough, or being able to throw people into walls. But then you have some more impactful gameplay changes, like giving every character in the game their own unique attack called a signature skill. But my personal favourite addition, in line with what I loved about Naruto Storm Revolution, is the combo attacks. When you're using a team comprised of specific characters, you're able to launch special ultimate attacks that reference the series, like Goku and Piccolo killing Raditz and Krillin using the Spirit Bomb. It doesn't add much to the gameplay, but I really like it when specific scenes from the series are referenced in cool ways like this. A visual choice that I absolutely love and wish more games would add is changing the hair colour of Super Saiyans when they're out of combat. All of the Super Saiyan models have the pale beige hair, and I know it's dumb, but I fucking love attention to detail like this. While the combat is relatively simple and easy to get into, I think it's pretty fun overall. However, I will agree that you end up spending way too much time just sat around charging your ki so you can launch a super attack. And whenever there's a particularly big effect on screen, the game tends to chug in the frame rate department. I played this on PS3, so I don't know if this is also an issue on Xbox 360. While I do enjoy having super moves linked to the right analog stick, there's absolutely no way to control the camera. It automatically tracks your character, which means that it can struggle to keep up when you're moving fast and has a full-on panic attack when you're close to a wall. The only time a camera system has made me more stressed is when I've played Five Nights at Freddy's. The game's modes cover the basics of practice and fighting other players in the dojo and versus modes, and you can customise characters with stat increases and different super moves. There's also an online battle mode which has been empty for years, but at least this one told me that there would be no one around instead of letting me sit there for ages like Burst Limit and Sunset Overdrive. The first mode I want to look at in depth is the Dragon Battle Collection. As with most Dragon Ball games, Raging Blast has a mode for players to experience the story of Dragon Ball Z. Every iconic saga of the series is here, like the Saiyan Saga, the Android Saga, the Bardock Saga. It's literally just 2 fights, why is this here? So we have the core sagas of Dragon Ball Z from the Saiyan Saga to the Majin Buu Saga, with storylines added for the events of Bardock the father of Goku, and Broly the legendary Super Saiyan, and a collection of what-if scenarios. For every saga there's a collection of battles, each represented by a small diorama, which is just a cool touch.
I just think they're neat.
While it's a nice idea, the story mode in Raging Blast falls flat in so many areas. It makes sense why they went for a character mission mode in the sequel. The fights themselves feel very restricted. They try to get you to experience the story kind of faithfully within the missions, but it doesn't feel like they're guiding you towards it, but rather forcing it. The game will make you swap characters because the enemy hits a certain health threshold, it'll refill the enemy's health after cutscenes, and it'll interrupt the flow of the fight with more cutscenes. The vast majority of the story cutscenes also feel really low effort. It's a lot of static models and low energy animation, it all just feels a bit unfinished.
Obey me! You insolent pile of junk!
And I'm really curious about how they decided which scenes should be given more attention when being animated or being included in the game in general. Big moments like Goku turning Super Saiyan, the defeat of Kid Buu, and Piccolo sacrificing himself get noticeably better cutscenes than the other story beats. But other big moments in the series, like Trunks showing up against Mecha Frieza or the entrance of Ultimate Gohan, are entirely skipped over. They even show Ultimate Gohan in the animation for Super Buu's transformation, but he's not even in the fucking game. Why did anyone think this was okay? And speaking of how moments are chosen to be animated, one of the biggest moments in the entire series, Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2 during the Cell games, gets one of the low effort amateurish cutscenes. But the scene of Gohan saving Vegeta from Super Perfect Cell gets the works? It feels like they chose which parts of the story to include with a dartboard. Yeah, I need to mention this. In the fight against Frieza, Vegeta asks Krillin to mortally wound him so he can exploit the Zenkai boost in an attempt to stand against Frieza. It takes a few pages in the manga. All that happens is Krillin eventually agrees and blasts Vegeta through the chest. Now, this is just me, but I feel like the reveal of the second ever Super Saiyan in the series, with this badass with a sword and the sheer terror it strikes into Frieza, is more important than a guy getting a hole put in his chest. But that's just me. The inclusions of the Bardock and Broly sagas is just kind of whatever. They take up a total of 5 fights, and in the grand scheme of things, I think it would have been better to just throw the time spent on these scenes into making the canon stories better. I genuinely think the Broly storyline is only here because they wanted to include him on the game's box art.
How am I supposed to eat this
Dragon Ball game.
without my...
Broly. I mean, for fuck's sake, he's even in Attack of the Saiyans. Completing the fights in each saga unlock the following fights, but some fights are restricted to the Star Shop. Most of these are just the what if fights, but if you're looking at getting all the trophies, you'll have to grind for them. Stars are earned by completing specific missions for each scenario, with each of them having 3 missions including objectives and completing the fight on the hardest difficulty. But luckily, you're rewarded with video game child abuse. To be honest, this decision just feels like a way to pad the game out, and I'm not going to waste my time grinding for stars and replaying fights. I've got places to be, I'm a busy guy. I'll be honest, this is probably one of the worst ways to experience the story of Dragon Ball Z, other than having it explained to you by someone you're not interested in on a night out. If you want to experience the story, either read the manga, watch the anime, or play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Moving on from the canon story of Dragon Ball Z, Raging Blast features one of my favourite things about the series: what if scenarios. Fuck no, the good ones, not this. The what if section of Raging Blast is a good return to form for stuff like this within Dragon Ball video games. You've got things like Zarbon and Dodoria auditioning for the Ginyu Force, a Super Saiyan 3 dick measuring contest, and future Trunks stopping Yamcha from dooming the universe by cockblocking Vegeta. These are some really fun what if scenarios, and they're probably one of the best parts of the game's story mode. Another mode that I think is just a really cool inclusion is the museum mode. Here you're able to view extras like replays, the background music of the game, and the character encyclopedia. The encyclopedia includes bios and a model viewer for each character. I think these little inclusions are great for new and old fans alike. I would spend hours looking over the museum mode in Budokai Tenkaichi 2, and I'm glad that it's included here. Considering the fact that Dragon Ball popularised the tournament arc in manga, it would be kind of ridiculous for a Dragon Ball video game to not include a tournament mode. Raging Blast features 2 tournament modes, one modelled after the traditional World Tournament, and one modelled after the Cell games. It's your standard tournament mode where you compete in a bracket of fighters comprised of CPU characters and other players if you're playing in person or online. Your fights are the same as the rest of the game, but with the addition of commentators reacting to your fight. The tournament mode's pretty basic, but it's elevated so much higher when you play with actual people. And the final mode of Raging Blast is Super Battle Trial, a collection of challenge modes where you compete to reach the top of the leaderboard. Honestly, None of these are all that special. You have your standard time trial, survival and score modes alongside some modes that are tailor-made for this game. In Destruction Attack, you take part in domestic terrorism by destroying as many buildings as possible during a single fight. In KO Attack, you have infinite key and health and have to see how many people you can beat within the time limit. I just played as Super Boo and spammed the move that does a ton of damage but leaves you on 1 HP because your health just refills. I think the game realised I was doing this because... Every once in a while, you can play through Dragon Ball Battle, where you fight an opponent to get a Dragon Ball once you win. When you gather all 7, you can wish for accessories, super attacks and currency, but you can't just farm this mode. Nah, that'd be too easy. Instead, you have to unlock access to the mode every time by completing another trial mode, so good luck if you want to get all of Shenron's wishes. Dragon Ball Raging Blast is a definite improvement over the previous game on HD consoles. In my video about Burst Limit, my main issue was that there wasn't nearly enough content. I think Raging Blast has a different problem. There's a good amount of content, a great roster, even if it is missing the goat, but you know, and a ton of customization options. But my issue with this is the massive amount of grinding you have to do to access it all. You have to replay a ton of stages trying to complete the missions to get stars to spend in the Star Shop, and you have to replay the bare bones challenge mode over and over again to get Dragon Balls. I absolutely refuse to go for the Platinum Trophy for this game because it'll just drive me insane. 6 out of 10. Raging Blast is a decent enough game, but it has just enough issues to make me hesitate to pick it up again when I'm looking for dumb Dragon Ball chicanery to kill some time.